Hey guys, I just want you to know that one thing that Albert Einstein got wrong with this. You ready for it? Because I know all the psychics, all the creative people, all the artists out there they love this quote. I mean, I do too. I mean, it sounds so cool until you realize it doesn't help, right? It helps, but it doesn't help. So let's say that imagination is more important than knowledge, right? I think that is wrong. I think that it's time to destroy that myth. I tell you why. See, he used his imagination, but he put his ideas probably on paper. I don't know. I forgot. It's been a long time since I read this book. Now, most people use their, okay, so I believe that you have to at least take the untangible, make it tangible, right? A video is very tangible. You can create it. That's like basically you have an idea in your head, right? A lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs have an idea in their head, and then you got to make it tangible, which is creation, right? So if we have an idea and if we put it out, that's tangible. People can hear our voice. People can work with the idea that we have in our head. Now I'm beginning to understand that I have to communicate my ideas to the world by creating videos, because if I have an idea that's always locked in my head, but if I don't put it out there through a video, it doesn't get through. My message doesn't reach people. So I have to take the idea in my head, put it out in a video, right? Because I think now, oftentimes people bash me on reading books, but reading books help me to destroy my belief system. Because this guy who people think is a genius, if they actually read his story, which I'm going to read for you since some people don't like reading books and some people do, but I like reading books, but I don't let that holding me back. Look, I know that Gary Vee don't read books, but he learned through osmosis. He learned through many interviews. He have interviews. He learns by doing. Some people learn by doing. Some people learn by reading. Some people do both. But I think that by me not saying about the psychics or the spiritual, it's doing this people disservice. People who are good, let's say if you study a subject, right, and you're passionate about that subject, let's say it's whatever. For me, it's either personal development or law of attraction. I have to be able to communicate that through the video, through whatever medium is useful for the audience, which is YouTube. If I don't learn and take that skill, if I don't, let's say law of attraction, if I don't know how to put that skill into work, like combine it with the thing that we have learned in the past, and then output that, there's nothing. We can have it all in our head, but we got to communicate that. So let's talk about Einstein, right? So if you're in special education, if you believe that you're not smart enough, or you're that, here we go. He was slow in learning how to talk. My parents were so worried. He later recalled that they consulted a doctor, even after he had begun using words, sometime after the age of 2. He developed a quirk that prompted the family made to dub him the departed, the dopey one, and the other in his family to label him as almost backwards. Whenever he had something to say, he would try to it out on himself, whispering it softly until it sounded good enough to pronounce out loud. Every sentence he uttered, his worshipped younger sister recalled, no matter how routine, he repeated to himself softly. Moving his lips, it was all very worrying, he said. He has just difficulty with language that those around him feared he would never learn. His slow development was combined with a cheeky rebelliousness toward authority, which led him one schoolmaster to send him packing and another to amuse history by declaring that he would never amount to much. These traits made Albert Einstein the portrait saint of distraction school kids everywhere, but they also helped make him, or so he later submits, the most creative scientific genius of modern time. His cocky contempt for authority led him to question received wisdom in ways that well-trained, I don't even know how to say that, in the academy never contemplated. As for his slow vocabulary development, he came to believe that it allowed him to observe with wonder the everyday phenomena that others took for granted. When I asked myself how it happened that I, in particular, discovered the relativity theory, it seemed to lie in the following circumstances. Albert Einstein once explained that ordinary adults never bother in his head about the problem of space and time. These are the things he thought of as a child, but I developed so slowly that I began to wonder about space and time only when I already grown up. Consequently, I probed more deeply in the problem than an ordinary child would have. Albert Einstein developed problems probably been a tragedy, perhaps by himself, for we have some letter from his adopting grandparents saying that he was just as clever, as endearing as every grandchild is. But through his life, Albert Einstein had a mild form of causing him to repeat phrase himself 2 or 3 times, especially if they amuse him. He generally preferred to think in pictures. Most, you think in pictures. Oh, he's very creative and then very creative. In famous thought experiments such as imagine watching lightning strike from a moving train or experiment gravity, while inside of falling elevator. I'm very rarely think in words at all, he would told a physicist. A thought comes and I may try to express it in words afterwards. So this is for those who believe that books aren't useful. Books are very useful to combat your belief system, to combat what you think you know about what you think about knowing that imagination is important. Imagination is important if to the degree that it creates something wonderful. But if it's in your head and nobody sees it, some people don't want to, because all entrepreneurs are really creative in their ventures. Sometimes it can hurt them because they jump from, they call it the shiny object syndrome. They jump from opportunity to an opportunity, right? So my message is this: you need two to work. Like, it's like people in logic, they lose their ability to imagine, right? Logic, right? They lose their ability to imagine. They only know how to analyze and knowledge. That's their downfall. The downfall of the people who use their imagination is they don't combine with that with logic or knowledge. So you need both. It's always I always seen that you need both to work. That's my message. And for those who believe that you're not smart enough, you are. Like, for this guy who's a genius, he's very, like, you need to condition yourself to say, like, I'm smart, that you can learn anything that you can learn to be able to use that in your life. Don't say that you're dumb or you're not smart enough. That say that you're smart, that you're capable of learning something much more awesomer. If you combat that with that knowledge, and you'll see that your brain start to open and you start to become curious about life. You got a question. I think that curiosity create geniuses. That's what I think. See you guys.